Hey there. Welcome back to our YouTube channel. I'm Josh, and we're thrilled to have you join us for our third Terraform lesson. Today, we're about to embark on something truly exciting. We'll harness the power of Terraform to orchestrate deployments into our Kubernetes cluster using Helm and Helm Charts. This combination is like a dynamic duo in the world of infrastructure management, and we're here to unlock its full potential. But before we dive into the heart of the lesson, let's briefly recap what we've covered in our previous lessons. In our last lesson, we laid the groundwork by setting up our infrastructure and effortlessly creating a Kubernetes namespace with Terraform. Today, with that foundation in place, let's journey into the fascinating realm of Terraform, Kubernetes, Helm, and Helm Charts to achieve something truly remarkable. Here's a sneak peek at what's coming up. 1. Deploying Trivy. We'll use Terraform's Helm Provider and Helm Charts to deploy Trivy seamlessly into our K3S cluster. 2. Prometheus deployment. In the same K3S cluster, we'll continue our exploration by deploying Prometheus, all while leveraging the power of Terraform and Helm. Now, let's get started on this thrilling Terraform adventure. But hold on, because there's a unique twist to this lesson. Our Terraform maestro for today, Nico, will be your guide. Nico's distinct European accent from the Dodecanese region, coupled with his command of the Queen's English, adds a charming touch to our journey. So without further ado, let's embark on this exciting Terraform mission. Nico, the stage is yours. Lead us through this lesson filled with innovation and discovery.
Thank you, Josh. In this video, we are going to use this page on our Terraform blog. We will provide you with a link to this page down below. Now, in the previous video, we already created a VM called Terraform K3S 93. So I have started this VM in my Proxmox, and now we're going to SSH to that. Let's open a terminal. I'm going to reduce the width of the terminal. So SSH, okay, let's connect to it. I'm connected. Now we need to do a sudo su-. In other words, we want to switch to the root user. Right. You would create this folder. I've already created it. So let's open that folder. And then inside the Helm folder, we will create a Trivy folder. These are the different projects that we are going to work. But for now, we just want to make a Trivy folder. I've already done that. So I can now just go straight to Trivy. And with all Terraform projects, we always want to create a providers.tf file. So let's do that. And then you will paste this in there. You will see now that it's already there. There it is. Just to recap, from the previous video, we identified two things. We identified a path. When you're working with K3S Kubernetes, you need to use this path. So for both the Kubernetes provider as well as for the Helm provider, we need to tell it where Kubernetes is installed. In this case, that is what we're going to pass it. And I'm using a default context in my Kubernetes cluster. I haven't changed that. So this is the context you need for both the Kubernetes provider and the Helm provider. And then you save it, Control S, Control X. After doing that, we need to create a namespace TF file. And then we paste this into there. I've already done that. My namespace is called Trivy_system. Control S, Control X. And then next we need to create the Terraform file that's going to create our infrastructure as code. nano Trivy operator, and you would copy this as is into there. I've done that. Control S, Control X. Being a Helm chart, you would work with values YAML files. So let's create one. Copy. This is the command. Let's copy it. And then you would put this in here. Now let me explain to you what we've done. You need a provider in order for Terraform to be able to do operations. Now in this case I need two providers because I want to use Helm, so I need the Helm provider, which I'm using and defining here. But I also need a Kubernetes provider, as I need to be able to connect to the Kubernetes cluster. In this case, I'm going to use this provider to create the namespace, and I'm going to use this provider to deploy Helm charts. Now you can see that I'm using the same config path to the Kubernetes cluster for both, because this one is going to create a namespace in the Kubernetes cluster, and this one here is going to use Helm to deploy a Helm chart into the Kubernetes cluster. So that's what we've done here. Now, if we look at namespaces, I've created a namespace called Trivy Systems, and the value in there is also Trivy System. This is why I needed two providers. This Kubernetes provider here is going to be used to create the namespace. But then afterwards, I'm going to be creating a Helm resource. You see here, Helm release, this is my resource. And this is going to connect to my Kubernetes cluster. It's going to also connect to this Helm repository, and it's going to download this Helm chart over here. It's going to use my namespace that I've declared. You see there, metadata. It's going to use this namespace as the namespace, Trivy Systems. I could have just put in here Trivy Systems. And the name of this is going to be Trivy Operator. Now, Helm charts work with value YAML files. So we did create a values YAML file, and all we did was put one value in there. And that was to ignore unfixed as true. Having done this, let's save this, Control SX. Now we can apply. Whenever you work with a new Terraform project, it is a good thing to do the Terraform init. You always want to do that. And every time you make changes, you also want to run Terraform init. It's good because if there's a problem, it'll come up with an error message now. Green is a good sign. And now we can run Terraform plan. This is going to try to simulate running it, and it will do further diagnostics. So if there are errors not caught the first time, it will catch them now. Okay, it's happy. And now I can run Terraform apply. Now you see, in my case, I already have run this Helm chart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to destroy it. If I say Terraform destroy, and I want to destroy it, so the response is yes. This takes a while. I should say a few minutes rather. So now let's try Terraform init again. Okay, it's happy. Let's try Terraform plan. And this time it's telling us what it's going to create. There should be two things. There's a Helm chart and there should also be a namespace. There's the namespace. So now that we've done that, now we can go ahead and say Terraform apply. And the value is yes. And it's done. Now we want to check our cluster to see what we have. So the first thing we want to do is run this command, kube control get namespaces. Copy. Paste. Kube control get namespaces. We are now looking for the namespace that we created. Let's have a look. Here it is. Trivia. Here's the namespace, Trivy system. So that's a good sign. I'm going to run the kube control get all command. I'm going to provide it with an additional parameter, -o wide. So it'll give me a wider display with more information. And then I'm going to also pass it the namespace. In other words, I want to see everything that's deployed in that namespace. So let's copy this Kubernetes command and paste it in here. And now you can see this has succeeded to deploy everything. It's all there. We have a pods. We've got 3 pods. We have a service. We have a deployment. We have a replica set. That's a good sign. So this was successfully deployed into the Kubernetes cluster. Now we want to do the cleanup. And that is the destroy command. So let's do that now. And we pass it a yes value. Okay, now we want to run the kube control command, but with a difference. Instead of -n, I'm going to say -all -namespaces. And I'm looking to see what namespaces I've got. And I don't have my system there. I don't have Trivia system is not there anymore. So this means that the destroy command cleaned my cluster. I will now be looking at the next Helm chart. We will also provide a link to this here. We now need to open this folder again. I'm just going to clean the screen. You would now create a directory called Prometheus. I'm now going to jump straight to that directory, copy Prometheus. Like with the previous Helm chart, we now first need to create a providers file. So let's run this command. And this is exactly the same as the previous example, the same identical file. Control S to save, X to exit. And that was the content there. We just saw that now. Now we create the namespaces. It's exactly the same. It will have a difference. Our namespace is my Prometheus. Control S, Control X. And now we create the Prometheus Terraform file. This is the one that's going to deploy our project to the Kubernetes cluster as a Helm chart. I like to create a file with the name of the Helm chart that I'm deploying. So then I can identify, oh, here is Prometheus.tf. So that's what it's going to do. Let's edit this. Now, there's a problem in my documentation. The R is missing. It should have said resource. I'll try to fix this as soon as I get a chance, but here is what you have. So this is creating a chart called Prometheus. The name that we are deploying is Prometheus. The namespace is my Prometheus. Here is the repository to this Prometheus Helm chart. It's sitting in the GitHub, and then we want this particular version of Prometheus to be deployed. And then we also have two settings here as well. We have a pod security enabled false and a server persistent volume enabled false. So let's save it, Control SX. Like the previous example, we're now going to run these commands. Copy. So all being well, we should not get errors. Good. Now we want to plan. Always run the plan. So you see, you run the init when you created the files. Now we run the plan. That's a good sign. And now we run the apply. And enter yes as my value. Keep your fingers crossed that this works. Okay, this is a good sign. So now we want to see what namespaces we got. Remember, we created the namespace here, and also we created a deployment, a Helm deployment. So let's paste that in. Here's my Prometheus. Good, I'm happy. So that worked. And like we did in the previous example, we will do the same here now. Copy, paste. I'm going to just expand my screen. So kube control get all -o wide -n and then the namespace, my Prometheus. And that's a good sign. Everything is deployed, it's there, it's working. And we have some services here. So I'm just going to run the get service command. So we have a few services. And if you look here, I do curl to these URLs. So let's start with the port 80. This changes every time you deploy. So right. We need to put a curl in front of this. Curl. Curl. And then run it. That worked. You just run the previous command again to get service. We also want to run this one here, 8080. T80. Good, that worked. We can run this one as well here. Let's first run this one. And we also want to try this one here. So what the curl command is doing, it's opening it up like as if it's a browser in the terminal. This one is port 9091. 9091. Great. So this is a good sign. The Prometheus is working, and from the service I was able to open everything. Prometheus would be used internally in the cluster. So other applications that talk to Prometheus would be able to access it inside the cluster. However, if you want to access it outside the cluster, there is two options you can do. Since we are using a values YAML file, you can change how the type of service that's used. That's one way. The other way is you can use port forwarding so that you can access it outside the cluster. The last thing I need to do now is the cleanup. So that is here, Terraform destroy. Now this will take a few minutes. Value yes. It's deleting the namespace. And to save you time, I'm now going to hand it back to Josh. Thank you from me.
Hey there, thanks a lot for hanging out with us today. We're delighted to have you on this learning journey. We've laid down some cool groundwork, and now it's time to dive into the exciting world of Terraform, Kubernetes, Helm, and Helm Charts. Here's a sneak peek at what's cooking. Now, let's quickly recap what you've just seen. 1. Deploying Trivy. We took Terraform's Helm Provider and Helm Charts to seamlessly bring Trivy into our K3S cluster. Your support makes it all the more rewarding, and we're thrilled you're here with us. 2. Prometheus deployment. But wait, there's more. We didn't stop there. In that very same K3S cluster, we rolled out Prometheus using Terraform and Helm. It's been an awesome learning experience, and we're grateful you've been a part of it. Your support means the world to us, and we love hearing your thoughts and ideas. Drop a comment below to let us know what's on your mind. Your feedback helps us shape the content you want to see. And hey, as a way of saying thanks, we've got something special for you. Consider supporting us on Patreon, and you'll get access to exclusive perks, including early access to our upcoming courses in handy PDF format. It's our little way of showing appreciation for your dedication to learning. Once again, thanks for being part of our awesome learning community. Stay tuned for more exciting stuff, and remember, mastering this stuff is a journey, one step at a time. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep having fun with it.